and welcome back to my true crime channel. Today I'm going to be looking into the case of the teenage TikTok killer. Teenage TikTok killer is a girl that goes by the name of Isabella Guzman, and she has become extremely famous in the last couple of years for the murder that she carried out, which tragically was the murder of her own mother. In August 2013, Isabella tragically murdered her own mother and was charged with first-degree murder after stabbing her own mother and killing her. Now, the case went viral in the last year or so on TikTok, mainly because of quite sick people, in my opinion, making memes out of Isabella, making memes out of the murder case in general, putting funny music to it, and it became a viral sensation with people, trying to be like Isabella, pulling faces like what she pulled in her court case, and generally romanticizing her as a murderer, which I find truly disturbing. Isabella Guzman grew up with her mother, Yun Mi, and her father, Robert, in Colorado, America. She was a troubled child. She didn't get on very well at school. She didn't make friends easily. And into her teenage years, she became quite a recluse, not going out very often and generally acting quite bizarrely, erratically and strangely. She was very abusive to both of her parents, and this is from quite an early age. And at around the age of 7, her mother can't cope with her behaviour anymore, and she asks her father, Robert, to take care of her. So Isabella moves in with her father, and for a while her behaviour improves, but eventually she goes back to her old ways and her father can't cope. And at some point in time, she does move back in with her mother. She has never got on with her mother. She always found it easier to get on with her father, Robert. She was quite disrespectful of, well, quite, sorry, she was extremely disrespectful to her mother, including spitting at her mother, which I find repulsive and disgusting, and I can't imagine how someone can think that's okay to do to their own mother. So not only did she spit at her mother, she was rude to her mother. When she became a teenager, she'd invite boys into her room, I'm sure you can guess to do what with, and the mother would often see the boys sneaking out of the house in the middle of the night. So she was extremely disrespectful to her mum. Her mum had quite a low-paid job, and she found that quite embarrassing. She wanted her mum to be rich and provide her with the lifestyle she expected. Why, once she'd become a teenager that could get a paper round or a job in a local shop, who knows why she didn't get a job so that she could have maybe had the life that she wanted and had a bit of extra money. I'm not sure why you'd be so embarrassed that your mum didn't have some high-flying job. I find that really upsetting and really sad. Now, the divorce of Isabella's parents was probably the catalyst for her behaviour getting worse, her becoming more of a recluse, generally not making friends, and she eventually drops out of school, which the parents are extremely disappointed with. She, is quite a wayward child. She wants to do, or teenager, she wants to do as she pleases, and she certainly doesn't want to take orders from either of her parents. After Isabella's parents have divorced, her mother, young Me, meets a new man called Ryan. They fall very much in love, but Isabella doesn't take too kindly to Ryan. She doesn't really like him, probably doesn't want him in the family, in the house, and generally isn't very best pleased about her mum's new budding romance. Now, according to Isabella's mum's, it was eventually husband, Ryan, before he married her mother, she was a bit of a wayward teenager, but she wasn't that bad and she wasn't that rude. I think all of the spitting and the atrocious, disgusting behaviour towards her mum occurred after the mum marries Ryan, which Isabella clearly found difficult and couldn't accept the fact that Ryan was her new stepfather. And it's around this time that her behaviour really does take quite a drastic turn for the worse. After Isabella's mother marries Ryan, her behaviour really takes a turn for the worse. She becomes exceedingly violent towards her mother, often kicking her. As I said before, the spitting starts at her mother, which is really upsetting and horrible to know. And she generally becomes a really rowdy, quite horrible teenager, and she becomes more increasingly difficult for Ryan and her mother to live with. Sadly, we all now know that Isabella didn't ever change, as tragically she brutally murdered her mother on the 30th of August in Colorado in America in 2013. Now, the day before the murder is carried out, on the 29th of August 2013, Isabella sends her mum a very threatening email. The email claims that her mum's going to pay for what she did. From what I can gather, her mum and her had quite a heated argument, but from what I can gather, it wasn't about anything that important. Isabella completely flipped and took everything the wrong way and started making threats to her mother the day before. Her mother was extremely worried about the email, and I'm pretty certain that the police were contacted, not just on this occasion, on more than one occasion, to report Isabella's behaviour to the police, which, as you can imagine, being the little psychopath that she was, she didn't take very kindly to her mum reporting her to the police. Now, the police, like I said, did attend that day on the 29th of August after Isabella's mother has reported her behaviour, disgusting behaviour, to the police. The police do have words with her. I think she may even be taken off to a police station, but then is advised to return home. The mother is told that she's coming home, and upon returning home, she is said to have locked herself in her bedroom and locked herself away from everybody, potentially planning the awful events that were going to occur the very next day. So, as I said, Isabella confined herself to her room after the incident, but her dad was contacted again, Robert, by her mother, and Robert did speak to her. I'm not sure if in person or over the phone, and she claimed she was going to change her ways and that she was going to turn her life around and start to become a decent human being. And tragically, her dad believed her, but little could he know what awful tragic events were going to occur the very next day. So, on the 30th of August 2013, Isabella's mum returns home from work, tells her husband Ryan she's going to go and take a shower. This is at about 9:30 p.m. Isabella is upstairs at this point. She goes up, and I think Ryan can hear water running, so he presumes she's having a shower. He then hears a very loud noise. I'm not sure what the noise was, and he goes upstairs to investigate. When Ryan gets upstairs, Isabella closes the bathroom door, or slams the bathroom door shut, and Ryan realises that young me, his wife, Isabella's mother, and Isabella are both locked inside the bathroom. Ryan desperately tries to get the door open, but he's not able to. There's a lot of banging, screaming and shouting going on, and then extremely terrifyingly and disturbingly, Ryan then sees a pool of blood coming out from the bathroom door. He rushes to get his mobile phone and he calls the police. After calling the police, Ryan returns upstairs, desperate to try and get back into the room, and he is greeted by Isabella standing at the door, covered in her mother's blood, holding a knife. Tragically, before Ryan could intervene and try and stop Isabella from running away, she's off. She runs through the house, out the door, and she is gone. Tragically, Isabella's mum had died from her injuries, and at 10:28 p.m. that night, just an hour after she went to take her shower, she was pronounced dead. Now, also, her post-mortem results are extremely, extremely disturbing and upsetting. The amount of injuries that Isabella inflicted on her mother are so unimaginable, especially for an 18-year-old girl to do to her mother. I cannot get my head around the fact that she carried out the acts that she did. I really just can't get my head around it. Now, sickeningly, Isabella had stabbed her mother numerous times. Over 150 injuries were found on her mother's body. Not only had she stabbed her, she'd also attacked her with a baseball bat. Isabella had attacked her mum so ferociously that there were 31 stab wounds on her mother's face and approximately 48 stab wounds on her mother's neck. The fact that her teenage daughter, that should have been her loving daughter, did this to her and brutally murdered her over some petty argument, I find it completely astounding, and I cannot get my head around it, not at all. Now, once Isabella has fled the house, she ran to a nearby shop where she told employees she'd been attacked and that she couldn't leave and that she needed to wash herself and change her clothes. She proceeds to wash her hair in the toilet of the shop and apparently changes out of her blood-stained clothes. and then eventually does leave the shop. From what I can gather, the people that worked in the shop did buy her story and didn't report the fact that she'd been in the shop to the police. Now, after fleeing the shop, Isabella goes and sleeps in a car. I think it's her car, in a garage. What is really weird about that is a member of the public sees her in the car. Apparently she's still covered in blood because she obviously hadn't washed it off very well. And because she was asleep, the member of the public, the passerby, thinks that she's dead in the car, reports it to the police. And when the police arrive, Isabella Guzman is finally busted. Now, after the crime, Isabella was diagnosed with schizophrenia. She was apparently having delusions and voices in her head, so she claims, told her to kill her mother because if she killed her mother, she would save the human race. Now, whether this is all made up and that she never actually had those delusions, and whether this insanity plea was all just a game to get out of going to prison for the rest of her life, I can't be sure. I don't want to judge her because she could be schizophrenic, but if she's not, it's truly shocking if she did use that as a plea to get out of her life sentence. Now, due to her insanity plea, she did technically get off the murder of her mother, and she's now serving out what potentially will be a life sentence to some degrees in a mental institution in Colorado in America. Now, another shocking element to this case is that last year in 2020, Isabella was said to be pushing to be released. Last year, she was aged 25, so she's now a fully grown woman, and she believes that she served her time because of her schizophrenia and the fact that she's now on medication and that she's mentally stable. She feels that she should be released back into society. Personally, I think after such a brutal murder of a mother at only aged 18, your mum's meant to be one of the most important people in your life when you're 18 years old and throughout your whole life. The fact that she could do that to her mother, in my opinion, means that she should not be getting out of this mental institution in Colorado and back into the big wide world. She should be staying there for the rest of her life, in my opinion, to make sure that she's not a threat to anybody else in the world. Now, Isabella in recent years has done an interview for American press or media, and in it she claimed that due to the fact that her parents were Jehovah's Witnesses and she didn't believe in that religion, she didn't believe in religion in general, she didn't want to be part of it anymore. She says that that is where her mental health problems began, and that she wasn't herself the day of the murder, she wasn't thinking straight, and that she's reformed and therefore should be let back into society. The fact that any media would want to film this young woman, I find disturbing, to give her a platform. TikTok have already given her a platform inadvertently and made her famous, as she's known as the famous TikTok killer, or the famous TikTok teenage killer. I just find it also disturbing, the fact that someone's made a meme out of her. Someone died here. This girl's poor mother was brutally murdered, and people on TikTok think it's funny and want to make a joke out of it. I find it so disturbing, I really, really do, and I really, really hope that Isabella doesn't get out of this mental institution. I hope she stays there where she belongs, in my opinion, for the safety of everyone. Now, from the interview that Isabella did recently, or in recent years, with American television, there is quite a shocking quote that she said, and I want to make sure I get it right, so I'm just going to read it to you guys, because it really is very disturbing, and I'd like to share it with you, so bear with me. So this is Isabella Guzman talking to American media. I was not myself when I did that, and I have since been restored to full health. I was abused at home by my family for many years. My parents are Jehovah's Witnesses, and I left the religion when I was 14. And the abuse at home worsened when I quit. The fight with my mum was terrible, and I was injured in the process. I have the scars on my hands. I don't know if you can see or not. I'm not mentally ill anymore. I'm not a danger to myself or others. Bloody hell. I don't know where to start with that, to be honest. The biggest thing sticking out for me here, no remorse, no empathy, no sympathy, no emotion for her dead mother. None, zero. And the bit about her hands, that's what's sticking out to me here. Oh, her poor hands. Her hands got injured. She's got scars on her poor hands. The hands that killed her mother. The hands that brutally killed her mother. She wants to make sure the interviewer can see the scars and make it known to the world that she was injured as well. Schizophrenia or not here, guys, and I'm not going to have any pop at mental health disorders. Of course, I would not do that, but schizophrenia or not, that's sick. It's actually made the hairs on my arms, it's given me goosebumps, because she seems to think the scars on her hands are quite important, and that, you know, the fact she was injured in the attack where she killed her own mother, she needs people to know about her injuries, It's so disturbing. In my opinion, this girl is a psychopath. Schizophrenia or not, mental health disorders put to one side, she needs to be kept in a mental institution or a prison, well away from the public forever. And I really hope that Isabella Guzman never gets out of prison.
I was not myself when I did that, and I have since been restored to full health.
So anyway, guys, I found this case of Isabella Guzman extremely disturbing. I can't understand how anyone could kill anyone, especially their own mother, who they should love unconditionally. So I have found this really hard to get my head round. Not only the fact that someone killed their mother is extremely upsetting. What is also extremely upsetting is all the memes and all the fame that the girl has had on the internet from TikTok videos going viral. I just find it all so disturbing, but at the end of the day, it's the world that we now live in. Videos do go viral, people romanticize serial killers and killers in general, and as I said, it is just the world we live in. It is very sad, it's very upsetting. It must be extremely upsetting for Isabella's family to see all of that. They don't need all that in their face. It's bad enough what happened without having a constant reminder of it from people being idiots on the internet. Well, anyway, guys, I've really hoped you've enjoyed the video today. I will be back very soon with some more true crime and paranormal content. Like and subscribe, as I always say. Thank you very much to all my new subscribers. I'm really enjoying all of your comments. I want to say a couple of mentions to a couple of my subscribers and followers. I'd like to say a big hello to Shadow Walkers 20. I really appreciate all your suggestions for cases to cover and all of your really thought-provoking comments and your support in general to the channel. I'm really grateful. I'd like to say hello to another one of my followers or supporters, Alex. Again, I really appreciate your support and all of your constant comments on my videos. I really do appreciate that. There's just a few other of my new subscribers and followers on Instagram that I'd like to shout out for all of their continued support and thought-provoking and interesting comments, and that is Oracles and Beyond. Thank you very much for all of your comments. I really appreciate them. There's a couple of other people that I'd like to shout out, and that is Liverpool's Paranormal. I really enjoy all of your feedback on my Instagram and all of your comments on my videos. Thank you. I really enjoy discussing the cases with you. And I'd also like to give a big shout out to Seven Souls Paranormal. Again, thank you so much for your support with my YouTube channel, all of your continued interesting comments. I really enjoy reading them. So thank you all of you, to all of you guys, for your continued support. I really do appreciate it. So anyway, guys, that's it from me for today. I'll be back very soon with another true crime video. You all take care and stay safe now, and I will be back very soon. Bye-bye for now.